Welcome to the bottom of the rabbit hole. Salute to all the Matrix University subscribers tuning in. You are appreciated. In this video, we are going to talk about the Matrix comic, Return of the Prodigal Son. That means this entire video is filled with spoilers. And if this is your first time down here, or you want to know everything about the Matrix universe, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you do not miss out on any future yellow-pilled content. The story and art for Return of the Prodigal Son was created by Gregory Ruth, who has done work for Dark Horse, DC Vertigo, Fantagraphics, and the New York Times. Greg's first picture book, Our Enduring Spirit, was written by President Barack Obama. He collaborated with Ethan Hawke on the graphic novel Inde, and Ruth also created the story and artwork for two other Matrix comics. The first one we covered was titled Hunters and Collectors, and the second Greg Ruth Matrix comic we covered is titled A Path Among Stones. Ruth also contributed to the artwork in the Neil Gaiman Matrix comic Goliath. I'll leave a link to the Matrix comic playlist in the description so you can check out any of the ones you missed. Return of the Prodigal Son was written and drawn in two parts by Greg Ruth, but was not published in either of the first two printed volumes. The entire comic was later printed as one combined episode in the Matrix Comics 20th Anniversary Edition. The story opens up with the main character, Jimmy Fingers Scarvone, overhearing a group of red-pilled operatives desperately searching for an exit to escape the Matrix. The operatives realize that Jimmy is there with them, so they point their guns at him and tell him to leave. Jimmy himself is running from a mob boss named Kaplan, so he is somewhat relieved that the people pointing guns at him haven't shot him already, because if they were Kaplan's henchmen, he'd already be dead. As Jimmy raises his hands to comply, the red pill operator's connection begins to break up, and Jimmy starts to transform into an agent. The story then flashes back to Jimmy's previous plot to use the assistance of two accomplices named Tony and Carlos to steal from his boss Kaplan, which we find out is the reason why the mob boss was trying to kill him. When Kaplan confronts Jimmy about catching him red-handed trying to steal, Carlos nervously fears for his life and begins to open fire. Kaplan orders his henchmen to shoot to kill. A gunfight breaks out, and both Carlos and Tony are shot and killed. There's only one way out of the building alive for Jimmy, so he jumps through a large glass window and runs away in the alley. While running through the dark city streets, Jimmy overhears the group of red pills searching for the nearest exit, saying that they have the, quote, item. Jimmy then describes opening his eyes even though he doesn't remember ever closing them. He describes a shadow of a man standing over him, then feeling one last twitch before knowing where he was. Jimmy then realizes that he was standing over the dead bodies of the operatives he had just encountered. Jimmy searches the body looking for any evidence or clues, observing that other than the guns and cell phones, they were clean. No wallets or identification or obvious clues to who these people were. However, he did find a small mechanical object, but had no idea what it was. At that point, the weight of the situation finally caught up to Jimmy, and he throws up in the alley. He said he hadn't puked since 1979. This was not a sign of good things. Jimmy felt like he was clearly in way over his head. Even though Jimmy felt like the object would only bring him more trouble, he kept it with him and could only think of one place to go, back home to the church he grew up in. Jimmy explains everything that just happened to Father Mike in the confessional. Father Mike asks Jimmy if he is sure that someone else wasn't there, someone he couldn't see. He asks Jimmy if he can be sure that he didn't just black out the memory of killing the operatives himself, but Jimmy says that he is sure, and that he has more than his fair share of blackout experiences to compare it to. Jimmy also states that his gun was already empty by the time he escaped and made his way to the alley. How could he have shot those people without any bullets? The priest says that he believes Jimmy's story and invites him on a walk. Outside the church, more Zion operatives approach in search of the item that Jimmy took from the crime scene. Meanwhile, the priest asks Jimmy if he believes in evil. Jimmy says he had seen a lot of bad things, but he just always thought that it was people who were bad. Father Mike proceeds to tell Jimmy that a man named Victor Scagnetti came to visit him just before he died. Jimmy says that he heard the cops had finally caught up with Scagnetti, and that was how he died. Father Mike says that was the official story, but the real truth was he described almost the exact same body possession experience. The strangers, the blacking out, the corpses, all of the same details. The priest asks if it is possible that Victor and Jimmy were both possessed by some sort of evil. Jimmy stated that he never made any deals with the devil, to which Father Mike suggests, perhaps living a life of sin alone is an invitation to this evil. Father Mike says that they can talk more about it in the morning and offers Jimmy his old room to sleep in for the night. Jimmy says he wants to get rid of the little device he took first. Suddenly, the Zion operatives ambush Jimmy, holding a gun to his head, saying they'd be happy to take it off his hands. They take the device, but in this same moment, the priest turns into an agent of the system. The Zion operatives shoot the agent in the head, effectively killing Father Mike. Jimmy, confused by the situation, says that he was just a priest and that he will kill them all to get his revenge. Jimmy then suddenly turns into an agent again and blacks out. When Jimmy regains consciousness, an agent is standing there. The agent says, "All of this blood and thunder, and for what? A little piece of metal whose significance remains a mystery to you. In fact, it remains a mystery to all of us, because they never explain exactly what it does in this comic, nor do they explain why it is supposed to be so important. But since Jimmy now assumes it must be of some importance or value after everything he has seen, he points his gun at the agent and demands that the agent put the item down. The agent laughably reminds Jimmy that his gun is out of bullets. The agent warns Jimmy not to confuse his patience with sympathy. The agent proceeds to interrogate Jimmy, asking him what he knows about the Zion operatives. Jimmy tells the agent that he only knew Father Mike, and that Father Mike had nothing to do with any of this. When the agent asks Jimmy what he thinks happened here, Jimmy cries out that he doesn't know. He's just stupid, and he could never get it right. When Jimmy opens his eyes, the agent is gone. So for a deeper layer of context here, the famous Return of the Prodigal Son is an oil painting by Rembrandt, depicting the moment of the prodigal son's return to his father in the biblical parable. In the painting, the son has returned home in a wretched state from travels, in which he has wasted his inheritance and fallen into poverty and despair. He kneels before his father in repentance, wishing for forgiveness and the position of a servant in his father's household, having realized that even his father's servants had a better station in life than he. Jimmy ends the comic with this: God's agents were everywhere and all around us. All it takes is a leap of faith. It's just a little thing, and that's enough, isn't it? You can let me know what you think in the comments. Be sure to join us over at the Matrix University Discord to talk Matrix and keep up with any and all real-time Matrix news updates. Make sure you go download the free Agent Syndicate webcomic at agentsyndicate.online. The website won't be there forever, so make sure you go get it now, before it gets swallowed up by the Matrix itself. Of course, I'll leave all the direct links in the description box. And remember, as one realizes that one is a dream figure in another person's dream, that is self-awareness.